It's not yet.
Hey, Alicia.
Hello, hello.
It's so good to see you.
It is good to see you too. So happy to be here.
I know it's always a joy to have you on. How's everything been going lately?
Things are good. Things are going really well. You know, taking it day by day, moment by moment. But things are good. How's everything for you?
Girl, good. Living our quarantine life and just trying to get through Friday.
It is
just
good
seems like
to
it's
see
the
you
day.
too. So happy to be here.
I know it's always a joy. It just seems like the time is going by so fast. I don't know. I don't know if it's the quarantine as far as it kind of gets redundant. You know, like day by day you're at home. I'm still working from home. I'm still doing school from home, and then not really going out unless I'm going to the grocery store or just something I need to do. And it kind of gets just mundane every day. And I think it just makes the days kind of blur together. It's Friday again. You know, despite okay, I get up and I work out or go jogging or whatever, but girl, I'm just trying to stay busy. You know, with Casa de Course, I started my new design page on Instagram, Casa de Course. On top of podcast,
People.
thank you. On top of graduate school, I submitted my intent to graduate form on Wednesday. No.
Okay.
Yeah, I submitted my intent to graduate form, and it's like I can't believe it's here already. But
Wow.
So what about you? I know you working and doing the mom thing. Your health brand, Mind Your Health, is exploding. I really love what you're doing, and I think your project's so beautiful. So how's everything going with that?
Things are good. It's so funny that you mentioned just like trying to be intentional about, getting out the house or working out and things of that nature.
Yeah.
That I am trying to be intentional about a schedule, okay? Routine works well for my brain. So having a schedule for each day or, for the weekends and things like that, it really helps. And just trying to be intentional. I know that with being a mom, Zion has a very different experience than I do with quarantine. So just trying to make sure I normalize this experience as much as possible just for, his benefit is something I'm trying to do too. And you know how it is wearing all the titles, wife, hat, mama, employee, mind your health. Like, hey, I'm honored and I love it, but it's great. Great.
How is, that's like my little nephew. How is Zion doing?
Growing. I'm going to have to just keep saying growing because his conversation is more mature now. He's just understanding so much more now. The questions are more just articulate and I'm just like, are you 8 or 18? Because a part of him thinks he's grown. I have to remind him who mommy is, but I just love the growth, honestly. He is growing.
Has he asked you something like anytime and you've been like, okay, wait a minute, I wasn't ready?
All the time. All the time. Yes, all the time. He does stuff that I'm like, wait a minute. Like, yes. And then it's also not a challenge, but it's different because our personalities are very similar. He's like a mini me. So I'm always like, pray for Nick. If y'all ever are thinking of us, please send a prayer for him. But our personalities are very similar. So a lot of times I'm also responding from like a, hey, hold on now. Get it together type response. But yeah, things are good.
Good.
And everything your way is great. I know you talked about the school and you submitting that intent to graduate. How you feel about that?
I can't believe, like, already, it just seems like it's going by so fast. And I don't know. She sent me the email. I think it was the registrar's office. She sent it to me via email.
Okay.
And, so happened, I checked my email. She's like, well, it's due by the 31st or something. And I was like, wow, like she had sent it earlier, but I missed it. So it's kind of like, oh, I need to submit this just because I've gotten so wrapped up in doing these, podcast lives in addition to school and working. And, you get so many alerts throughout the day. You're like, oh,
yeah,
later.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, I probably need to respond to this.
But you said the 31st, so like of October?
This
or You got to do, but I know it's like that motivating factor. Like, this is my intent to graduate, so I'm encouraged to get this in on time.
Yeah.
Yes, so, that's so great.
Yeah, I know people are like, when did I get started? But we're gonna go ahead and get started. So
okay.
we're gonna do an official welcome like we always do.
Okay.
So first of all, everybody, I want to thank you for joining me. My name is Camille Essick. I'm the host of the Speaker Podcast, and joining me tonight is my sister and friend. She's a returning guest, Alesia Jones. She is the creator of Mind Your Health, and be sure to follow her on Instagram. So we're going to give her a time and space at the end of this episode to plug her brands, but I just want to officially welcome Alesia to the show. Alesia, thanks for joining me.
Thank you for having me. It is such an honor to be here. I think it's such a wonderful thing that you're doing with just giving. I love your tagline, where innovators and entrepreneurs connect. So I just love the space that you're providing for people.
Innovators, creators connecting. Thanks so much. And those that are tuning in, let me know. We want to give some space. I'm trying to learn to be interactive, so I want to give time and space for everyone that may be joining us now. Kendall Wansley, hey, from Nashville. Thank you for joining us. Yeah, and if you are tuning in, just joining, put in the name, drop in the city where you're from so we can give you a shout out and say thank you for tuning in. And also be sure to like and comment and share this. If you have a question or comment, be sure to put that in below if you have a question for Alesia during this episode. Okay, guys? Thanks so much. So, Alesia, since the last time you've been here on the Speaker Podcast Live on Facebook, kind of fill us in as far as where have you been and what's been going on professionally, or what have you seen in regards to mental health since the last time we chatted?
I have seen just a lot more exposure. And I'm so happy to say that, because a lot of times when people think of mental health, we hear a lot about the stigmas before we hear about the normalcy of it. And so I think with the more conversations that I'm beginning to hear about and see, I think the last time I shared seeing it in a movie the last time, and just more people going online and more news channels giving a space for people to discuss mental health and to talk about it. So that's kind of my excitement. I just see a lot more exposure on social media and just in general. And so I'm just so happy to hear it and for it to become a bit more normal than it has.
That's really, really good. And also, Deborah Davis, thank you so much. She is tuning in from Hanford, California. So
all right, Callie in the house.
Callie, West Coast. She's such a sweet person. So thank you, Miss Deborah, for joining us. Yes, and Alesia, and back to your response as far as mental health and social media, having the conversation and getting that information out there, I think is so important, particularly now as with people of color, every day we're seeing news reports. It's very emotional and very traumatizing when we see accounts of police brutality and just the continuance of social injustice. It's very hard to see that every day, in addition to personal stressors like being at home, being quarantined, being away from friends and family, and not really being able to contact loved ones. And so now there's a coworker, I spoke with her the other day, and she was sharing with me some personal things and kind of gave me some insight to what she's experiencing within herself, being quarantined and some of the emotional stress she encountered.
Yeah.
And you think like, people are, I'm fine. But when you begin to speak with them one-on-one, some things begin to unravel, and it's like, people really are feeling the impact of this. And not only for us as an adult, but you think about this time for children, particularly from kindergarten to like maybe third grade. This is the age and time for them to really learn those social skills and to be socialized. So you imagine how many kids will have this gap in communication and socialization because of the quarantine, because they're not around other children, or kids are just learning, general social etiquette, and them having to catch up. So what do you have to say for that?
It is a lot. And the thing that kind of gives me a little breather is that we're all experiencing this together. It's a little different if, one person was going through it personally, but we're all experiencing the change of what COVID has brought to us. Not only the change of COVID, but the change with social injustice, the change of the politics right now. There's just so many different things that are going on. And again, just to kind of hint with the staying at home, I think we talked about this a little bit last time, but I can't say enough, making sure that you are being interactive and encountering and just talking to other people. Sometimes it's as simple as going out for a walk, and other times it's hey, let me pick up the phone and call a loved one. So it's really important to still, as much as you can, still interact and have as much communication with other people as possible. And also with the children, Pinterest has been my best friend. I love looking up different activities and ideas for us to participate in. We have probably completed maybe 6 to 7 canvases just, since it started, in March. So just getting creative and knowing that although outside may be, shut down and we're still limited in what we can do, it's the time to get creative. So if you can pull out your creative hat, Pinterest has wonderful ideas for children and even as an adult. Like I know I've gotten into some painting and to some house projects. So if you're able to do that, those are things. Just as much as you can create your own normalcy or your own form of this makes me feel good, this is getting me into a routine, then that's what I encourage you to do. If you have to clock in, don't clock in from the couch. Create a nice space in your home to work and create a nice environment that makes you feel that you do have a routine, because that is something that really does help and support mental health, especially when you're limited on what you are able to do.
I love that. And speaking on relationships, there are times where some people may experience some tension when it comes to communication, just being at home because you're in such close proximity with the same person every day, in or out. And in relationships, you have boundaries or situations that may not be healthy. So can you kind of lead us into that conversation, Alesia, about boundaries and communication and communicating in a healthy way?
Yeah, we definitely can. Every time I start talking about boundaries, I love to begin it with self-awareness and self-love. So I would like to kind of define what self-love is and go into boundaries, if that's okay. Okay. So self-love, when we think about that term, I know I commonly hear people say, self-love, that's selfish, or self-love, am I being like focusing too much on myself? And that is not the case when we have a healthy amount of self-love. So I love definitions. So I'm just going to take a moment to just define love really quick. And love is just a simple definition of it's a great pleasure or interest in something. So when you put self in front of that, it's you having a great interest or pleasure in yourself. And when we think about who we are as individuals, that's a necessity. That's a requirement. We need to have a great interest within ourselves. We need to have a great love for ourselves. So self-love is not selfish in the least bit. So if you are focusing or putting your interest, being aware of your interests, continue to do that, because that promotes a nice form of self-love for yourself and also can help when it comes to creating boundaries.
Okay. And then I guess going into that, how would you communicate those boundaries as far as what you need to your partner or your friend or someone that's significant in your life?
There are so many different ways to communicate that. The first thing is understanding and realizing that it is a loved one, because a lot of times we'll have boundaries that we create and it may not necessarily be appropriate if we haven't really communicated those boundaries to other people. So it's always important to communicate those boundaries. And when you're communicating your boundaries, be ready to understand that you have to respect someone else's boundaries. So it's always important to, as you said, communicate the things that you're expecting from other people when they're loved ones, and then also be willing to reciprocate that if they communicate what their boundaries are. But kind of jumping back into self-love, and that kind of goes into creating those boundaries. When we think of different examples of loving yourself, when we think of different examples of being self-aware, there are so many different things that you can do. And and if anyone has ever heard me kind of speak before, then you probably heard this, is affirmations. I love affirming. I love affirmations. I think they are necessary. And again, I love those definitions. So when we think of affirmations, it's as simple as just stating something as fact. You have the power to speak life over yourself. So stating what it is that you want and stating that as fact. And I know that sometimes I know you mentioned the quarantine, it can be kind of challenging. Our day-to-day can be challenging. So as we are in that sometimes funk, or as we're in like a kind of down mood, you have to remind yourself of who and whose you are. And as you're doing that, that's the kind of goal of affirmations. Like, okay, I will accomplish what I am set to accomplish today. I will fulfill my purpose. So just reminding yourself, these are the things that I set out to do, and this is actually what I'm going to do. So it's just really being really mindful of that too.
Yeah. For someone maybe where can they find affirmations? I know I do them, And when I started, I didn't know what to say. I didn't know, it just felt weird, standing in front of the mirror. So what I did was I actually just Googled some affirmations for different areas of my life. And I literally had the paper and I would read it, And again, it felt very weird, very awkward, especially if you're not accustomed to hearing yourself talk or hear yourself say these things. It's very weird. But the more I started to do it, I was like, okay, even if I didn't really believe it, if that makes sense, I was it because I knew I needed to really get in a place of being comfortable saying things to the point where it sounds normal and creating a new normal. Because sometimes I feel like people, particularly women, we go through things or experiences where negativity is pretty much rooted or deep-seated in our spirit. And it's like this bad tape recorder. So it's like you've got to pull out all the bad tape and then put in the good stuff. And sometimes we experience internal conflict because we're still hearing that old message. And you have to go, no. This is who I am. This is what God says I am. And reaffirm those things until that other voice kind of just fades out. So can you kind of unpack that as well?
Yeah. So affirmations, I like to view it as how you see yourself or how you perceive yourself. And this is in a positive light. So we're not saying the challenges that we're still working on. We're solely focusing on the positive and the healthy ways that we really view ourselves. So if you have, let's think about, okay, if you want to buy a home. So if let's say your affirmation is, I will be a homeowner. So the more you begin to speak those things over yourself, honestly, thoughts and your behaviors are so connected. So it's so important that as you begin to speak it, you start to think it. And it's kind of like it becomes consumed in your mind, like I will be a homeowner. So the more you start to speak that, then your mindset starts to believe it. And then you have a different process of thinking about things. So instead of just saying, I will be a homeowner, you begin to think about, okay, who do I need to contact to figure out more information? Do I need to get in touch with a realtor now? Do I need to figure out my credit? So the more you're speaking things and you're creating that space or that environment for whatever it is that you like to happen in your life, that's really the goal of an affirmation. It's to say, this is what I desire, and this is it. Like, I'm going to have it, and just saying it on a routine basis. And I know you said it is kind of different when you're saying it out loud. You may be looking in the mirror, and you're like, is this my voice? And that's okay, because any habit, it may be uncomfortable in the beginning, but when you have a habit or when you're creating a habit, just kind of get into the routine of just saying it, and it may get uncomfortable, but the more you do it, the better off you'll feel and the easier it'll get. And some days I got to remind myself, if I'm having like a difficult day, I'm like, did I say my affirmations this morning? And then I'll go back to saying my affirmations. And one of the best things that I like to apply to that too is this little quote that I've been telling myself for a while. And it's, speak what you see until you see what you said. So speaking, like, let's go back to the homeowner. So speak what you see. I will be a homeowner. I'm visualizing myself as a homeowner. So I'm going to speak, I will be a homeowner. I will be a homeowner. And you're speaking that, and your mind and your behavior is kind of catching up to that. And then until you see it, and speak what you see until you see what you said, continue to speak that until you do get the keys to your home, until you do close on that property. Speak what you see until you see what you said. And it may be a year, it may be 3 months. We don't know. But speak what you see until you see what you said.
I like that. And I got to take that on for my own, because I'm really digging that. Speak
Good.
what you see until you see what you said.
Yes, ma'am. Love it.
I love it.
It may take a bit sometimes, but we're speaking it. And that can be a form of encouragement too. Speaking it. And it's not always easy I know we can paint this picture like, I'm going to speak it. And then you just think that, everything is fine and dandy. That may not be how life goes. You may have some pivots or some road bumps or speed bumps in the way. And then that just kind of comes into you taking a self-inventory. And this is all with self-awareness. I think probably almost everybody in here goes to some type of store, whether it be a retail store or a grocery store. I feel like I go there about 5 times a week, but we go to some kind of store.
No, it's like saving on gas, but he's spending more on groceries. So it's like...
Right, getting creative in the kitchen. Yes, girl, I get it. But yes, we all go to the store. And when we think of a store, there's someone in that store that is required to be responsible about inventory. They'll know how much of something that they have. They'll know how long it's been there. They'll know how many products are left. And I kind of correlate that with taking self-inventory and being self-aware. It's so important on a regular basis to take your own personal inventory. Understand why you feel a certain way, whatever experience it may be. Understand how you felt that way, how long you've been feeling that way, and kind of continue to take that inventory. And that can also help with boundaries, because sometimes the ways that we feel or the reasons we feel certain things come from an encounter that we've had or an experience that we had. So the more you take inventory of your feelings and your experiences, the better off you'll also be to being self-aware and creating those healthy boundaries that are necessary for you to live a life of peace and freedom and all that good stuff.
I love it. I love it. I love it. We're going to pause right here because we have some other people joining us.
Okay.
So if you're just tuning in, this is Camille Essick. I'm the host of the Speaker Podcast, and tonight my guest is Alesia Jones. She's the founder and creator of Mind Your Health, and right now we are discussing self-care, self-love, and boundaries within terms of mental health, within not only yourself, but in relationships, not just romantic relationships, but just interactions with other people. And if I'm slipping on my words, y'all forgive me. I have new braces. It's kind of weird. So y'all can be patient with me. Also, if you're tuning in, be sure to like, share, comment, post. And if you are making a comment and you have a question, you can also drop that in the comment section below. Or just say, hey, I'm tuning in. I'm from Nashville, or maybe you're from Hanford, California. Maybe you're watching. But pop in your city so we can shout you out and just say thank you for tuning in. So, Alesia, jumping back in, you were discussing boundaries and affirmations. What about a situation, and this is something I've experienced. I was talking to someone a week or two ago, and we're on the phone having a conversation, and the person, they're like, oh, girl, how you doing? And in the middle of the conversation, she was like, oh, I don't want to talk about that anymore. I don't want to hear about it. And I was kind of like, wow, like, why would you not want to hear how someone is doing, or maybe, hey, Charles, tuning in from Atlanta, Georgia.
Hey, that's my brother.
That's my brother. Hey, Charlie. But just when you're in a space and having a conversation with someone, and no matter how positive you're attempting to be or give, how can I say it, advice on things that can do to maybe put more joy into their life. And no matter what you give them, it's like they're just swatting, oh, I don't want to hear that. Oh, I don't want to hear that. And there's just a place of just not being happy. And in that moment, I felt like, well, no matter what I'm saying, no matter how positive I'm trying to be, to give you some, I guess, sense of joy or uplift your spirit because I feel like you're down, it makes me want to go, well, do you really want to be happy? Or you're just comfortable in this space of woe is me. And in that conversation, I did not tell this person that, but in my mind, I was like, well, maybe I need to kind of pull back from them quietly, and whatever they're going through, let them go through it. And if they still need a friend to listen, I'll be there. But I cannot be drawn into where they are right now because I'm in a space right now of, being positive, trying to pour into my, just be in a healthier space emotionally and mentally. Mm-hmm. And I think for me, seeing somebody that's just really in a rut and they're not wanting to come out, what can someone do if you have a friend, they're kind of like, I don't want to say enjoying where they are, but they're not making efforts to come out of this valley. Like, how do you work through that?
One, it's so funny we're talking about boundaries, because I would definitely say boundaries are beneficial at that moment, because we all have moments in life that are a little challenging than others. And then we may have friends that we've been friends with for 10 to 15 years, and we may just feel that, with where we're trying to go, they may be on a different path than us. And that's all okay. So one, it's going back to that inventory. Okay, I realized that after I got off that phone call or after I spoke with that person, they kind of caused such and such. They made me feel this way. It caused me to feel that way. So taking an inventory of that and realizing that, and then also moving forward to know what limitations you're going to give to that friendship. Like, hey, I'm here for you as a friend. I'm here to support support you. And then as the conversations, they kind of go dwindling down and they're really negative, then it's okay for you to terminate that conversation. Not to say that you're terminating the friendship, but for your mental health and for your peace of mind, you know what you're willing to accept and offer into your space, and you know what you're willing not to. So just making sure that you're taking inventory on your own feelings, and that you know, and you also, especially when you're friends, you kind of know what you're going to get from your friends and from your loved ones. You probably can assume how they're going to respond to a certain situation or how they're going to respond to a certain question. So also going into certain conversations, be mindful of that. Know that I get this from this friend and this from this friend. So you're not sometimes too thrown off when you do constantly see how they're behaving, because when you know someone, you just kind of see how they are. And then still be you, be reminded of, hey, I am positive. Hey, I am going, those affirmations, kind of continue to go over your affirmations. You can be that to that person as much as they will allow you to. And when it becomes a force for you, that's the cue to be like, okay, I'm here and I'm loving you from a distance.
I love it. And in regard to that, as far as we're looking at boundaries and relationships and communication, do you think a person should set out the deal breakers up front? Or maybe there's a situation and then discuss the deal breaker and go, hey, you know what? This is not for me. So when someone's having a conversation and we're just all speaking hypotheticals, how should someone really truly communicate their deal breakers or, those boundaries in a safe place that is, how can I say it, emotionally healthy, where we're both communicating our needs? Like, what would be the best way to do that?
I think it depends on who it is. So if it is someone that you can trust with you, and when I say you, I mean with your emotions, with your experiences. Again, we don't wake up like sunflowers every single day. Some days we have some challenges. And when you've connected with someone that is willing to not only be happy about the days you wake up with the sunflowers, but also be willing to work through those days that you are having those valleys or having those challenges, that provides a comfort or some type of safe place to know that, okay, hey, I can let loose, so to speak. And when you have that, discussing boundaries is so important to know that connection and that relationship. So when you're connected to somebody, just go ahead and talk about those things. Hey, these are the things that I like. These are the things that I don't like. And honestly, as you all continue to be friends or if it's a romantic relationship, continue to be in a relationship, you all will pick up on those do's and don'ts. I have been, knowing Nick for about 7-8 years, and we are still picking up on the do's and don'ts. And that's okay.
Yeah, Nick, hey, Nick.
Yes, number one supporter. But yeah, the more that you interact and, communicate with that person, the better that they'll understand your boundaries. And even if they aren't, if some situation or experiment or experience comes up and they really aren't understanding your boundaries, it's okay to communicate that in a safe space. And I always say, if you are feeling some type of emotion after whatever that situation may be, do not immediately respond. Get yourself together first, because, especially us women, I would say me, I got to get myself together, chill a little bit, be reasonable about whatever the situation is, and then go into it with a healthy mindset, not one where it's ready to attack or blame or, tear down, but one that's ready to say, hey, I feel this because of this. That's another statement that I love using throughout some of the experiences that I have, because it's so important to be able to say what you feel and then connect that to a why. So I feel sad because of my dog passing away or something. Always be able to correlate your feelings, because that way you have a better understanding of what those boundaries are in the future. So that way, and if your dog, let's just say you end up getting another dog, it kind of helps you prepare in the future that, okay, this is the potential to happen. And now I'm going to start, creating those boundaries and creating a mentality now for, whatever may occur.
Yeah. And shout out to the most amazing auntie on the planet. Vidette Putman is tuned in. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for joining us. And if you have a suggestion as well, please feel free to drop it here in the comments below, and like, share, and comment. One more question, Alesia. When we are looking at this time and space of quarantine, I know we keep hearing the word quarantine and COVID-19, and it's just like, oh, how many times do I have to keep hearing this? But it is a reality as far as where we are right now. But what are some things people can do to relieve the stress? I know earlier you talked about walking outside, but can you really talk about the importance of maybe journaling or maybe some type of creative outlet to relieve that stress.
Mm-hmm. Yes, releasing emotions are so important when it comes to your mental health, because when we have experiences or when we have certain encounters, we have that emotion that comes with that encounter on that emotion on that emotion. And it's so important to release those emotions. So going back to the I feel statement, if you are a journal, if you like to write, then I certainly encourage you to do that. It's just as simple as saying, hey, this is what I'm feeling and this is why I'm feeling it, or just kind of letting loose about whatever your day, whatever is going on in your day. And I know some people are like, well, if I start thinking about something, then I could think about it all day, and I ain't trying to be in the funk all day. That's the real thing. And the more self-aware you are, the more you are able to create those boundaries of what you're going to, how much time you're going to give something. So I'm a person like that. If I have something that's going on, I am one that I can either sit for about 5 minutes and think about it, or it could be an all day thing. So when I am experiencing something, if I got to let loose, then I'll tell myself, okay, I'm giving myself 30 minutes to write this, and then I'm going to be done. And then it's just about learning yourself. And I can say I'm going to be done, but then I immediately have to do something else to kind of distract my brain for the time being. So I may journal, and then right after I finish journaling, I may start to color, or I may turn on some TV, or I may do something with the family, just to make sure I'm not giving or wallowing in whatever that experience may be. So yes, journaling is such a great thing. And then just talking. You know, we were talking about those loved ones. People are in our lives for a reason. They are here to not only just love us, but they're also here to be there, here for us. So if you just have to communicate to a loved one, like, hey girl, this is what I'm feeling today, do that. I think Nick, he would probably laugh at me, but he's my loved one, okay? So he hears about the good, the bad, and the ugly. And a lot of times it helps just to get it out. And after I'm done saying what I got to say, I'm usually good. But that's just, it comes with self-awareness and what works better for you. So if journaling is good, do that. If talking on the phone to someone is good, do that. If counseling will be helpful, do that. It's all about figuring out how you can release whatever it is in the most healthy and effective way.
I love it. I love it. I love it. We have a question here. It's from Baudette Putman. She said, does time equal energy? In other words, can thinking of it constantly be exhausting? Very good question.
Yes, it can be so exhausting. Overthinking and overthinking and overthinking. It is very exhausting. That's why I was talking a little bit about kind of training your brain and giving you a certain amount of time to think about certain things. So one, I know for a fact that when you overthink, you sometimes can have a physical response to that. So I know for example, you may just be thinking about something all day long, and then you may start to have a headache because you are thinking so much about whatever that situation may be. So it's so important to go back to that self-inventory. Okay, what's going on, Alesia? And then recognizing what it is, figuring out why you feel that way, and then addressing it. And that addressing may be to a person, it may be to your journal, it may be through prayer, it may be to a loved one. You just have to take that inventory and then release. And then after you release, and if you're still thinking about it, then go ahead and do something, an activity. I like to call them coping skills. And that's just saying that I'm doing something that's going to kind of give me a good mentality, that's going to kind of help my brain a little bit. So if you are doing that and you have a favorite thing that you like to do, like my mom, I wouldn't say sewing for my mom. No, she likes to do it, but she'll do it. So that's sewing or ironing for the week, or my mom loves sports, watching basketball. Whatever you can do that actively can take your attention from that situation to that activity, like healthily, then that's what I would encourage.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I definitely want to bring you back just because I really want to break down the taboo, the stigma of mental health, particularly within the Black community, because it just needs to be addressed. And you and I, PKs, growing up in church, there's always been such a stigma around mental health, and we really need to break these barriers down. And I think on a regular basis, just to educate our community about this, I think will help so much. I say all the time, you can have Jesus and the therapist too. There's nothing wrong with that. So thank you, Alesia, for joining me. I hope those that have tuned in have got something from this. And those that may want to connect with you, Alesia, where can people reach you?
I I am on Facebook under Mind Your Health, and also on Instagram under Mind Your Health and then an underscore. And then just to kind of reiterate what Mind Your Health is and what the platform is for, it's actually a service that's used to directly connect people to mental health services. A lot of times when I speak to people about mental health or counseling or therapy or things of that nature, one, it's kind of, we have the stigma, and one of the stigmas is just, it's a fear. It's like, how am I about to go tell a stranger how I feel and then they're going to help me in some way? So being able to have Mind Your Health is kind of like that liaison between you saying, okay, I think I'm ready to start therapy, and then actually getting started with therapy. So that's what the service is designed for. We are just here to connect people to resources. And like you're saying, there is so much freedom. There's so much healing. There's so much purpose that God wants us to walk into. And a lot of us are so distracted by our trauma or by our experiences that we haven't really tapped into what we need. So it's time out for, oh, I don't need it. Da, da, da. It's time out for that. Let's just get to a healthy place so we can be who we're meant to be, give God the glory the way we're supposed to, and just live freely. Like, it's life. We only have one. Like, let's do it, okay?
Only one life.
Only one. Like, let's do it.
Yes. So they can connect with you on Instagram and Mind Your Health, correct?
Yes.
And is that where they can book you, or do you have a website? Like, if someone wanted to book you for services, is that there as well?
Come on, details. Well, let me just let it be known, okay? So this is what you need to do. In the bio under Facebook or under Mind Your Health, there is a website. There's a website there, and my email address is also on there. So you can either send me an email. If you want to start out with a DM, that's okay too. But yes, there's a website that gives information about services. It gives information about what is called as a questionnaire. It's a sheet of paper that you would get that would tell me everything that you want in a therapist, ideally. So the demographics, it would tell me what you want to go to therapy for, how much you're willing to pay. So just answer those questions, and then it'll get back to me, and then we'll try to connect you with a therapist that's meeting the needs that you've requested. So it is as simple as that. So yes, you can email me. Bio has my information, the bio on Facebook and Instagram. And if you are, it's kind of hard to get to any information, you just send me a DM. Don't let it stop you. This is not designed for you to not get services. The whole goal is for you to be connected. So DM me, comment under a post, and kind of follow those pages. So I try to upload some, motivational things or some educational information about Mind Your Health. So feel free to follow those pages, and let's feel good together every day.
Yes, I love it. Thank you so much for joining me, Alesia. You are always just bringing wisdom, dropping the nuggets, the jewels. So thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to join me.
Thank you for having me, girl. Again, I love that you're doing this. So I'm just so honored to have this platform, because you are certainly creating a platform for people to grow, to learn, to express. So thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. Well, everyone, I hope you got something from this episode. I'm Camille Estick, host of the Speaker Podcast. Be sure to follow me on Instagram at Kamik, here on Facebook at Speaker Podcast. And if you have any questions, you can also email me at thespeakerpodcast@gmail.com. And be sure to check out my new interior design page on Instagram, Casa Decor Design, there on Instagram as well. And if you miss any of this good information, you can catch the replay on my Facebook page, Alesia's Facebook page, or check out my YouTube channel. Just pop in my name, it comes right up, and just click the link and watch and enjoy. Have a good day. Be safe out there. Wash your hands, wear the mask, and be safe. Be blessed. Bye-bye.
Bye.